Okay, so here is the website. Hopefully you guys can see that. And if you notice, I went through, and each station is in its own tab over here, so you can actually click and see what the other stations we're looking at. I really wanted, like I said, to be able to rotate and move you guys around, but it's just not going to be able to do that in the classroom here, the way it's set up. So the first station was content. We're going to start there. So content had two different assignments. One was called Build a Garden, and in this example, the students were asked to design a backyard garden. The performance task was tiered for content as well as readiness, and there was 3 tiers for the assignment. The first tier actually basically focused on the formula for a square. So very easy, side times side for area, and then going around adding all 4 sides up for your perimeter, 4 times S. So that was a very easy example. And then I also, this is it, changed their first part of their task to say label the dimensions in the backyard instead of actually drawing the picture. Tier B and Tier C actually had to draw the picture and map out their backyard, whereas the first tier, I already had the picture drawn. All they had to do was label the dimensions. So some of those students, like I said, they just don't have that mind visual on that, and you have to scaffold for them until they're able to stand on their own, and then you can pull that scaffolding away. So Station 1, what did you notice about differentiating on the content?
Some of the things we came up with both of them where you gave the same problem and question, but there were different numbers and fractions in the problems.
Okay.
You provided, like you just said, the drawing and labels versus just having the kids label in version A, and then provided formulas versus not providing formulas for some students as well.
Okay, so those students that I knew that were on level in that Tier B, that I knew they could handle the formulas, I didn't see a need to scaffold and actually provide the formula for them because they already knew perimeter was 2L plus 2W. And they already knew that area for the rectangle was length times width. So that was information that they did not need. But then for my advanced group, I actually had to scaffold for my advanced group because we had not covered area of a circle. And some of them had forgotten area of a circle. So I added that in with them and offered an explanation for that. So that was one way that I differentiated. And even like I said, offering the more challenge, you may have to still offer some scaffolding until they're ready to stand on their own because some of them may not know everything that you're trying to challenge them with. Okay? Any other comments about differentiating on content? Content starts where? Standards. That's right. Content starts with a standard. So if your standard says that students will be able to add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators. Okay, so that's where they were talking about here. Same problem with different fractions. The candy bar capers had fractions with, the first one had 1/2, 1/8, and 5/8. So they had a half and an eighth. Very easy to find the common denominator for that one, right? The second one had 1/2, 3/4, and 5/8. So again, 2, 4, and 8 with their denominators. Fairly easy to find a common denominator there. And then finally, the more challenging one had a 5th, a 10th, and an 8th. How many of your students would want to say that the least common denominator of 5, 10, and 8 is 80? So you may want to check on that and see, that gives you a little bit further of a challenge. They have to know to find the least common denominator on that. And you double check them, make sure that they know that it's 40 instead of 80. So that was an interesting task to do with my students whenever we actually were looking at adding and subtracting fractions. That's candy bar capers if you're interested in looking at that one. I think it's actually a state performance task, and I just took what the state gave us and adapted it. So adapt, don't adopt, right? Okay, so the next one was Station 2, process. So what did you guys come up with?
What we talked about if you had a fraction, you're trying to teach students equivalent fractions, 3 different ways you can do it. One would be a graphic organizer. You could put the fraction 1/2 in the middle and put equivalent fractions outside of the bubbles. Then you could use a foldable, just fold paper in half, fold it in quarters, and fold it again. So you'd have a hands-on example. Then the last one would be the traditional note-taking, where you just kind of work the math out and show how to do it. Okay,
good example. I like that. So even in just regular note-taking, this is what I told Station 2. Most of the time, I will create a keynote presentation. I give all the students the same information, and then some of these students I know are more hands-on. They love the foldables. They're easy graphic organizers, and I actually had the example that everyone's familiar with, and I can never say this right. I think it's Dinah Zykes. Is that right? You guys double check me on that. So she has the book of all the, like, this is the foldable Bible. I mean, this is the go-to place for any kind of foldable that can be implemented in any content area in any form or fashion that you can think of. And this is actually on the website. I've put it up here. So you can download this same packet right here. And it's about, like I said, 75 pages or more on that. The next thing that I didn't get this one out. I meant to offer you guys this as well. This is my own personal collection of graphic organizers that I have came up with over the through student teaching in college, as I've come through the Learning Focused program at Bryan County. I've got those in here. Anything that is offered graphic organizer-wise, this book is loaded with them. The zip file, that is the second one, if you guys want to look through that. The zip file, that is the second one for download, has all of those. Some of them are Word documents that you can change and create for your own. Some of them are PDF files that I've found. If you just go into Google, type in graphic organizers, you will come up with an amazing, crazy amount of sources that you can tap into there. The other thing, if you're familiar with Inspiration, that's a good way of creating your own graphic organizers. Yesterday I was sitting in a Web 2.0 seminar, and I found out that there's also a Webspiration website that you can go to. So if you did not sit in on that technology class, it's available on the Great Ideas Conference website, and you can go in and find that information for making your own graphic organizers. And my school that I'm currently teaching at is huge on Cornell Notes. Cornell Notes is the 2-column notes that they have where you put the traditional notes in there and then go home and create your own questions. So 2-column notes, it would be probably something if you're more familiar with either like the Chris strategies or Marzano's strategies. Those are 2-column notes. So 3 different ways of taking notes. Teacher has to do one presentation or one style of note delivery, and then set the students up for their own success there with taking their notes. Okay? Station 3. Let's talk about product. What differentiating of product